time that's happened to me.
Hey everyone, welcome to the New Media Show. My name is Todd Cochran. Of course, I want to welcome my co-host, Mr. Rob Greenlee. Rob, how you doing?
I'm doing terrific, Todd. It's we're kind of towards the tail end of the podcast movement virtual experience. It's an interesting thing we should definitely talk about, and there's a bunch of other stuff going on, which there always is, it seems like these days.
Yeah. You know, I'm just I'll just kind of say it. As a vendor, I'm kind of underwhelmed.
Yeah. I would agree.
And there was and I saw they sent an email out.
Contrast.
Go ahead.
Oh, I say I can't help but contrast it with my experience with Podfest.
So what?
But anyway, go.
So what's the contrast then between Podfest and Podcast Movement?
It just felt like Podfest was, I don't know, much more community oriented. I don't know. It's hard to put my finger on it. It just felt like more people were involved in it, and maybe that's just a perception that I got just based on the efforts on the part of Chris to set a Guinness Book of World Records, I guess, on that. It just got people a lot more energized about the event. I just haven't felt the presence of the podcast community at this event quite as much. I mean, I have felt it during the networking events, right, when people kind of get together and get into groups and they can talk and stuff. It's a little bit more like what we experience at a typical podcast movement. So I think that's a big plus for the event, is the after hours things that have been going on. I don't know. Go ahead, Todd. What's your observation?
I haven't been doing any of the after hours events. I know some of my team have, and kind of shared the same type of reaction. But here it is. I'm working. So I haven't attended any of the sessions. It's just normal work week for me. And then we've done a couple of demos. And so from that standpoint, and we've gotten a couple of meetings out of the event. I'm just
right.
Yeah, and I'm sure there was lots of fantastic sessions. I think Podcast Movement even tried this weekend to remind people that there was, go to the vendor area and say hello to the vendors. But I don't know, and.
It has been a little slow on the vendor side. I agree with you.
Really
I don't know
slow.
if that's been your experience, right?
Yeah, really slow. So, I've added a bunch of people for contacts just because they came to my session, or I've seen them somewhere else, but then what do I do with that?
Right. I have to say too, on the whole vendor meetings, all this kind of stuff that was set up in the system, is it's a cumbersome thing to manage.
Well, because you don't know who you're making they can make an appointment, and it's
right. It's kind of a mess, and it doesn't integrate in with your existing calendar,
right?
And which makes it, it adds a whole nother calendar to your agenda schedule. And I guess when you're trying to work, right, in addition to that, it has to blend in with that.
So if it had set a calendar invite, or actually, because there was some times where people tried to make calendar invites, and I was already pre-booked on my regular calendar. So if it was,
because there wasn't any integration,
no syncing,
there.
And and I understand you can't build for all platforms, but build for the major ones.
Well, and I did think about this concept of, and I think the platform supports it to some degree, is trying to designate like maybe one person to work a shift and to be available for people just to come by.
We did that.
And you did do that?
Yeah, we did that for 3 or 4 days. And
okay. Yeah. Well, we didn't actually do that. So what was your experience with that?
We wasted our time.
Because nobody came by?
Right. Because, we basically set people hours to be paying attention to. And what are they doing? They're just sitting here, refresh. There was really no, and to think back, I said, well, maybe we should have just been doing a live event the entire time.
Right. That's true. That's true.
But
I mean, you can put a video on your exhibitor page, and in the granted, Todd, we're talking about a topic that doesn't really impact that many in the podcasting space, but it's kind of inherent to the challenges that we see in these virtual events, right? Where sponsors need to, connect with podcasters, and exhibitors need to, that's what, pays for everything.
Right.
Beyond just what the membership, what attendees pay. Right?
And just for those of you that you've been listening to the show, you know this dynamic already. We all go there to wave the flag. We're still in business. Hello. Hey, how you doing?
Right.
People come over that are hosting with a variety of hosting providers and say, what you guys got going on? It's new. They ask questions and they do a little searching. Every once in a while, we'll get someone that wants to transfer from one platform to the other. We all do a little horse trading at those events. Mm-hmm. But I go to those events for, are you a podcaster yet? No. Well, come on in.
Right.
That's right.
I can help you get started.
That's right. Here on the tablet, let's go ahead and get you in the system. Let's get you going. And that's what pays for the event, because the horse trading, we trade a few shows both ways, and cross, and invariably, so and I'm in the business of putting new butts in the seats, and so are you. So,
right. Well, and a lot of that kind of activity happens kind of naturally or organically, even outside of these events. So I haven't seen a significant uptick in those kind of transactions or those type of relationships come out of this event over and above what naturally comes. So and I've been watching some of the events. It's either that or I've been playing them in the background, or while I've been doing other things. And I've been also, I attended a few of the keynotes and things like that, because I know some of the keynote speakers, so I was interested in what they had to say. And,
right.
And so anyway, I tuned in and out, and I thought that the content of the conference was very good, and a lot of the creativity in the sessions was really great too, as far as the concepts. Some of the sessions are not typical type of experiences you would have at a real world event either. So, like sessions that would go for 2 hours, like our session,
right.
But there were other things, like what iHeartRadio did for like 3 hours or whatever, where they brought in a bunch of creators. And I think we talked about it on the last episode, but so there was some creativity in this event that the virtual experience exposes that maybe is a little more difficult to do in the real world.
And I know I can't really put Podcast Movement team at fault. They did what they
I think they
worked really hard to put on a great event, and so, but I'm telling you, I'm waiting for this this craziness to be over so we can get back to shaking people's hands. Yeah.
No, I agree. I definitely miss all that part of the connection, the physical connection. I mean, not physical, but the in-person connection that people have in this medium.
Right.
And that's a big part of what this medium is about. I have no idea how many people signed up for Podcast Movement Virtual and how many people participated. It's just so hard to gauge that. Where at the event itself, you can see people walking the halls, you can see people sitting in the sessions.
I think
there was no kind of way to experience how many people were actually there.
And all I can think about is how many people I had in my session for my online, for my discussion I did in private podcasting. I think there was like 50 that were in that, asking questions in that room.
But there was no way to see what that was.
No. Well, you kind of see in the commentary in the. But here's the thing, I had like 23 minutes.
I know.
So it was like.
That's the other part of it that was difficult. Was just how short it was. I think.
Yeah.
We both got more time at the in-person event. I think the typical session duration at the in-person event is 40 minutes, right?
Something to that effect, and then there's a little overlap while so you come off the stage, you can do the hand out business cards or whatever it may be. But so I this whole virtual thing, I know that Dan and everyone else got to raise money by doing sponsorships for these things, but I'm very hard pressed to be able to go back to my company and say, I need $20,000 to sponsor this event. because if you're going to spend any significant amount of cash on a virtual event, in the end, I don't know about you guys. You live in, you guys might be rich. You guys got a limited budget.
We're still pretty frugal.
Okay,
too,
you guys
because shareholders. We have shareholders.
Okay, whatever.
Right?
So you guys got a great budget. I'm limited. I'm a little podcasting company. So we have an event thing. We do a whole event analysis. We look at the number of bodies coming. We ask hard questions, and we have a cost formula analysis that goes into an event. And then when we get back, then we got to fill out the post-show event, and I got to say, here was the ROI.
Right.
Here was the ROI for that event. And then I have to be able to... We've stopped going to some events because the ROI was bad. We stopped going because we weren't putting... the key is I gotta sign people up.
Right.
And, we had actually... Well, I shouldn't even say it. We were adapting a different strategy for 2020 and had a whole different roadmap laid out this year. And then, of course...
Yeah, I did too.
Everything got ruined because of the pandemic.
It all got thrown out the window. I was planning on being outside of the U.S. doing a lot more things. So, yeah.
So, that whole plan to put in... Well, we saved a bunch of money. We probably saved $100,000 in travel and...
Right. That's true. That's very true. Yeah.
So, it's, allows us to stay more focused. But, yeah, I don't know. There's a couple of more. I'm speaking at Spark, the Christian Podcast Conference, next week after the election.
You did that last year too.
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm keynoting this year, so I'm putting together a brand new presentation. But again, it's a virtual conference. We'll see how it goes. And there's more. We're getting hit up by the folks at Podthon. Have you heard about Podthon?
No, I haven't heard from them yet.
So that's next year. So they're already. They've already decided, Podthon's already decided for next year that they're going to be virtual. And, so it's in July and they're going to do virtual. And I'm thinking to myself, if I'm doing an event in July, I'm pushing to be back in person by July of next year.
Well, the other event, the podcast show in the UK, have you been reached out?
Yeah, we've been talking to them, and here's the thing with that event. They've got 2 alternate dates. They can go push back later in the year. Right. So that's a pretty ambitious event. I think they're planning on having like 6,000 people in person. It's very ambitious, and booths are about £5,000.
Right.
So
that's expensive.
It's an expensive booth. And then the sponsor, I look at the sponsorship levels. I'm like, well, good luck, iHeart, and all those, because it's like £80,000 for some sponsorship. I just like, what?
Well, and then you got the whole travel and hotel to actually even attend. Right.
The travel's, again, I lived in Hawaii for 25 years. For the travel for me is, anytime I see an airline ticket that's above $1,000, I'm like, well, that's what I've been spending for 25 years, so it's not a big deal. Right. That's but the hotels in London are, not as cheap as you're going to find other places, depending on where you're staying. Right. And the good thing about it is you're in an English-speaking country, so you're not going to get lost.
Yeah. Right. So I don't know, Todd. I mean, I think that there's a lot of events. I know I'm doing another We Are podcast event coming up here next week on the 5th. I'm going to be moderating a panel on what. Well,
I don't even know what that is. Who's that involved with?
It's actually Ronsley out of Australia. It's the We Are podcast conference. Okay. So he's been doing some virtual events. Actually, for a few years, he held in-person events in Australia. So these are it's an Australian-based event. Yeah, it is. But he's been doing it on the global stage now because of the virtual events that he's doing. So I'm doing it. I'm moderating a session on the 5th of November at about I think East Coast time. It's like at 6:15 East Coast time.
In the morning or night?
At night.
Well, not
at
bad.
night. Yeah, it's in the evening. Yeah.
So yeah, I see you guys as sponsor logo on the page. So I'm looking
Yeah.
on there over there right now.
Yeah. So yeah.
They're doing virtual.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the Jordan Harbinger and that gang.
Yeah. There's just a lot of events that are doing stuff, and I would love to be involved in all of them. But you're right, Todd. It's like, are you better off creating your own content these days to reach podcasters,
Right.
new podcasters,
Right?
And that's the conclusion that we've come to too, is that we need to create our own content. So, which we've been doing all along, and I know you are too. So, I mean, it's nothing new.
And I think from our standpoint, we did a basically product demo. A lot of people don't get to see our product and services up close, so we are doing.
Right.
I think we might do those on a more regular basis now too.
Mm-hmm.
And especially as we start rolling out our new UI system, I'm just really. Well, it's been a year and a half to get to the point where my devs are now coding the UI. And I'm just like you guys, anytime you do a major update, it's been a lot of heavy lift. And I'm looking forward to, we're still probably got 6 more months worth of work, but.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're never really done, are we?
Well, there's never done.
And then
we're having a priority meeting this morning, and I just I'm like, well, why is that taking so long? or say, well, okay, we just put up this much work. I said, that's what, about 2 sprints worth? And I get to look back by the dev team. They're like, oh, well, that's more like 2 full months. I'm like, got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
It can never happen fast enough,
Yeah.
Like coding just never can happen fast enough.
Well, speaking of launching new things, Shure basically pushed out this new microphone. You got a chance to take a look at it much?
I did. Absolutely.
The MV7.
Yeah, let me see if I can find a picture of it and bring it up.
It's somewhat of I can say a baby version of the Shure SM7B with some pretty cool tech inside of it. I guess the ability that it touts to be able to connect to mobile devices via its USB-C port, I guess, it doesn't quite work yet, I guess. So I guess it needs a patch update to get it to work with mobile devices, like an iPad or something like that. But
they got a horrible picture on their website, so dark.
Right, but if you look at it for what it is and what it does, it's actually a lot like the ATR 2100 or the Q2U as far as its concept. Right, it's got a XLR and a USB connection capability, and it's got the other thing it has is some built-in controls on the diaphragm and the frequency range. It's got some optimization on the audio side too that you can play with it. But it is a little less expensive than the SM7B, and it sounds very similar to the SM7B.
So $249.
Yeah, it's about about 150 less than the SM7B, and that's. This microphone, you don't have to get like a Cloudlifter, which is $150 on top of that.
Well, if okay, so Rob,
there's cheaper alternatives, I know, than the Cloudlifter.
No. If you have a good mixer, you don't have to have a Cloudlifter.
Not that many mixers have the amount of gain that you need. That's the problem. I mean, if you overdrive it with your mixer, then you get background noise. Right.
Okay, so invest wisely, everyone. Most people don't need a Cloudlifter, but yeah, another $80.
I would look at your mixer and look at your preamps to see what their gain is. I think you need to have at least 60 dB, right?
Yeah, I'm kind of
gain boost.
I'm kind of cheating too. Let me show you what I have for a.
Oh, are you? Well, that's right. You're using one of these things too.
Well,
yeah, I have a full Cloudlifter here on this mic.
No, I'll show you what I'm using. If the search results will come up.
Yeah, but you have a compressor too. Doesn't that boost your gain on that too?
It can. Everyone's asked me for cookies. This is what I have in the front of my stack. But look at the price.
Oh my God, Todd. Yeah. You could buy 6 or 7 Cloudlifters for that.
That's a tube amplifier, and my goodness, it will drive any mic on the planet, and very well.
Right. So what's the gain range on that? Just curious.
Plenty.
Plenty, right? As much as you ever want. Right?
Yeah, and what's funny is I've never really had to crank it up. I've got it about, where's it at on the gain level? About 5 right now, about mid-range. But it's it's a beast. It's truly a beast.
Yeah, I have a Mackie mixer, and I looked at the specs on this Mackie mixer. It's an analog Mackie mixer. It's not a USB-based Mackie mixer.
Yeah.
It's the 802, was it VLZ3, and it's like an 8-channel.
Yeah, I've got I've got a 16-channel, and it's
and it's got decent clean preamps. I mean, Mackie's known for having really good preamps, but the problem with it is that it has a max of about 60.
Right.
Gain.
So on the, I must admit those Cloudlifters are pretty incredible, and I use one in the demo studio to hook up to my wire. I actually use a wired lav, and it's truly remarkable. Get you over.
Well, they add about 25 dB to your gain boost, which puts at full gain on this mixer, it would put it up around, I think around 80 dB if I maxed it out.
But the goal is to be on your mixer. If you're using mixers, to always be at unity. That's the key. And they're in about unity strictly because you want to, you want to be able to.
Well, you want clean sound, right, Todd?
That clean non-NPR sound. That's what you're getting here.
Yes, we are getting clean sound. Now, this new Shure microphone doesn't have any issues around this. So it doesn't need as much gain boost as the SM7B.
I think it's a deal killer for all those other mics that are out there. Oh, what's going on here? Are we still online? Yeah, we are. Said broadcast has been temporary. What is up with that?
On what platform?
Facebook. Facebook says
on Facebook.
But everywhere else we're up and running.
Okay.
Okay. Don't know what's going on there.
Facebook doesn't like us. We talked about a microphone.
No. Well, Facebook has been on Instagram has been on a banning. Oh, they're doing some shady stuff over on Instagram.
I hadn't heard about that.
Yeah.
But anyway, this microphone, I think you can have a lot of people grabbing one of these things.
Oh, I think it's sell like hotcakes. I think it give a run money for the ATR 2100. That's a mic that's what I'm gonna recommend.
Yeah, I was thinking about getting one. I've got multiple SM7Bs and I'm not using them all. So I was thinking I could sell at least one of my SM7Bs and pick one of these up.
All right.
So just to have one, play around with it.
Let me make sure
I can have 2 mics here when I'm doing the show.
I think we're back on Facebook.
Are we? Yeah, okay.
Looks like it. So a bunch of them switched over to YouTube, which is fine. Thanks for coming over on the YouTube stream. Those of you who don't know, we're at newmediashow.com/live. You can catch the YouTube stream.
Or you can get us on Twitter too.
Yep,
live,
Twitch
right?
either one of our, at NMS Podcast. So, yes, I don't know. I guess I would kind of like to pick one up and play with it, but I got to get some budget approval for that. I don't need personally any more toys, but it might work real good with my Rodecaster. I think,
right?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I've thought about getting a new setup here that's really, really focused on high-end audio production more than what I have here. So
you've got pretty high end starting right there. So
I do. I do, but I am doing this through my Surface computer instead of like
Oh,
like a computer under my desk or something like that, which might be a
right.
better
Yeah.
way of doing it.
Yeah, Facebook must be having major issues. We're paused again.
Really? Wow.
I'm going to tell everybody where we're at. We are live as well at.
So what else? What else going on? So that mic's got everybody all excited. I saw that Mr. Adam Curry and John C. Dvorak are celebrating their 13th year of doing No Agenda.
Yeah, I haven't listened to that episode yet. So
that's almost as long as, or longer than we've been doing this show.
You know what? They may not find us at newmediashowlive.com today. I may have not I may not have updated the embed. I may have to go do that right now.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, but we got people watching on YouTube, so they found us somehow.
At least one of the platforms is working.
My God. Yeah, so that's good for them. And I listened to 1488, the one that was prior to that, and it's a pretty good show. They had a pretty big donation segment too. They're picking up a lot of people. Oh, I'm on the wrong type of computer. Control V. Did I get it right? Let's hope so. Yeah, they're picking up a lot of people from Joe Rogan. A lot of people have come over to their show from his appearance on there and have started listening to the podcast. So I guess from Adam's standpoint, they're being very successful on, from having these show appearances in different places. Mm-hmm. How many people that listen to this show went over and started listening to him after Adam was on? I guess that's probably the question. Right.
That'd be interesting to know. I don't know how you would ever find out.
Yeah. We'd have to actually have people that cared about this enough to actually email us.
Right.
So
the whole gain boost thing with this microphone is probably not much of an issue, because if you're using direct USB from the microphone, there's no way you could put a Cloudlifter in that process.
Right. And not that you would necessarily. Well, it's got XLR too.
Well, that's true. I guess you could put one on if you wanted to.
And you may need it if you go straight XLR. You actually might need that. So,
I'm reading some articles about it. I haven't heard anybody say anything about the gain issue with this mic, or if there's a gain issue.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
So I guess who's going to be are you going to go out and buy one? You're going to get Libsyn to.
No, I'd have to buy it personally. I'd have to buy it myself.
Really? You do podcasts for the company? Come on now.
Yeah. I don't know. I suppose I could. I've never asked for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so. You guys have, you guys got big budgets. There should be a little equipment budget in there. We do. Having fun.
We have a big budget, Todd?
You should.
Wow, I'm glad I found that out finally. Oh, okay. It says adjustable gain range from 0 to 36 dB.
To what?
So
0 to what?
0 to plus 36 dB is the gain range. And then the XLR sensitivity is negative 55 dB. So,
that means it can hear something at negative 55 dB.
Right, which is pretty good.
Yeah. Well, that's actually almost too sensitive to a certain extent. But
yeah.
It's just like running condenser mics. You have to have a really good quiet area to work, or those things pick up everything.
Right. It's got a USB sensitivity of negative 47 dB. So it's a little bit less sensitive with USB than it is with XLR.
Right. Well, there was. I'm trying to get my email up here because I left the Mac at home, so I'm using my PC for.
You're on Windows.
Windows today. Yes, I'm struggling here because I don't use it actively. I was going to look up there was something on Pod News I wanted to talk about. Probably got the wrong email stuff loaded, of course. Let's see here.
That's good.
Oh, I didn't have to give them a password. That's surprising.
And I guess Podchaser launched a pro service.
Yeah, so it looks like maybe they have to. I know that they were funded. They had some funding, so it's time to make some money, it looks like.
Right.
So the service offers estimated reach, demographics, and social figures for podcast. So are they getting in the metrics game? Is that what this is?
Oh, I think they've always kind of thought they were heading down that path. I thought.
Huh.
I say they're planning on doing it across 1.4 plus million podcasts. So I guess they have a catalog.
Yep.
And I also noticed that Audible has announced that they're going to have they have 100,000 podcasts on their platform.
Audible does. Where did that announcement come from? I didn't see. Oh, they did. All right, I guess I can talk about this. So, this is what I was sitting on last week. And of course, I go to this website in The Verge and I get this massive. So as Amazon is turning Audible into a true podcast app, but it's a long way to go. It's adding 100,000 podcasts to its catalog. Now, the last time I checked, Rob, Audible was a subscription system.
Yep. It's always been that way since the very early days.
Okay. So.
Yep.
Audible's turning into more of a podcast app. The company announced today its catalog now contains 100,000 free podcasts that are already available on other streaming platforms. Primarily, it's actually, my understanding is it's an exact duplicate of what's on Amazon Music. So this is kind of telling that they got about 100,000 shows in the Amazon Music side. So they're going to have the same 100,000 shows in the free Audible. Notice I said free Audible offering. So why do you think they bought podcast.com? Because if you know now, if you go to podcast.com, it's amazing where you end up.
Yep.
If you go to podcasting.com, guess where you end up? You end up at Audible. Now, okay, so let's look at this. Start listening for free. Okay, popular podcast, top free podcast. Can I search for a podcast on this? I don't have Audible. Oh, let's go to see if we can find the new media show. And voila, here we are. New media show. Listen for free. Listen for free. How does that resonate with you, Rob, when they tell you that they can listen to this show for free?
Well, yeah, well, they're getting into having a podcast listening platform, open and free podcast listening platform. That's what's happening on this side.
They're using episode art as well. So let me go ahead and click into the latest episode.
So Audible is going to become a free and open access podcast listening platform then.
Yes, it is. Now let's go ahead and see what it says about show details. Does it ever lead me back to my website? Our website?
I doubt it.
No, it does not. So, and they only show, they show 3 of 76 episodes. I think that's what's in our feed. So, Audible, you can now get free. So, initially when we were talking with Amazon, it was Amazon Music /Audible. Then when they launched Amazon Music, they said, please take Audible off. I'm waiting for the email now to say, add Audible back on. So they showed their cards before because I could never figure out why they were going to have us put Audible in there. And then a week or so ago, because did you know it was coming to Audible? Did you have that insider information?
Yeah, I knew.
Well, I had talked to them about Amazon Music, but they never mentioned to us about Amazon. Apparently, they thought they did because they sent us a bunch of email last week saying Amazon Audible's podcasts are coming to Audible soon, and I was just like, I don't think you told us that before. Maybe you assumed we did, but I think they overlooked it. We were so focused on Amazon Music.
Well, they didn't share much detail about what they were going to do. No.
So what does everybody think?
But that's generally the case with any of these new platforms, and there's more coming.
So,
not specifically from these guys. I'm not talking about them, but I'm talking about other things are coming from other companies. So we're not done yet. I'll just put it that way.
So what does everyone think then of this situation now where, well, I guess if you're an Audible
Amazon
user,
Music podcasts, and there's going to be Audible podcasts,
which is owned by Amazon, by the way.
Yeah, it's all the same.
All the same.
Right.
So Amazon also launched a new subscription plan called Audible Plus. That was back in August, which gives listeners access to Audible's original audio content as well. Remember. So this is a play to shore up so that people that are paying for that premium content don't have to go anywhere else. They stay right there and listen to all that content on Audible.
Just like if you think about it, just like what Spotify is doing. You know, they added podcasts so they could keep all those audio listeners in one place, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they don't have to go off to a competitor to get the content that audio listeners listen to, which is more and more podcasts, right?
They say this move sets Audible up to compete more earnestly with against Spotify and Apple Podcast.
Yep.
So does it?
That it does. It does. Mm-hmm. Actually, they have two properties that they can go after the market with.
But here's the thing too. You can't listen to this show. Now, let me just show you what happens here. So it says,
probably links to the app, right?
So it says listen for free. I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and listen for free. Click. Oh, I have to log in.
Right. You can listen for free on Audible. So obviously Audible has a free account.
So you have to log in. There is no listen. So what does that mean? They've got your information. They know who you are.
Right.
Apple Podcast does not ask your name, ladies and gentlemen. Doesn't ask you for a password. They don't have your Amazon shopping history.
But most of the Apple users have Apple IDs. So, right.
But
it's
internal to Apple.
But you can listen to the audio without having that.
That's right. You can use the Apple Podcast app without an Apple account.
Yep.
Even though technically you probably already have one, because you're.
Let's just call this what it is. It's a customer acquisition strategy, is what it is.
Yes, it is
for Audible, right? Which is they have a free right to do that.
So I'm just kind of anyone don't think that podcasting isn't a big thing yet.
There's a lot of Audible subscribers too, and I'll bet you they get access to this content as well. Mm-hmm. Right.
Spotify says it has at least 1 million podcasts available to listeners. No, it doesn't. Well, it may, but they're not all active. And Apple says it has 1.5 million. Although Audible's original pieces of content number around 11,000. What? They have pieces. So
that's probably how many audiobooks they have.
Yeah, more than likely. So So that was curious in itself.
But they aren't very specific in this article anyway, so I can't really, I don't know what they're referring to specifically with that number of 11,000, because it doesn't say, actually.
Right. So the space continues to, so I guess the next question is who's Amazon going to buy?
They're not the only one.
All right. Who else is left to buy somebody?
There's some big radio networks.
Oh, okay. Well,
There
so
are one, right? And then there's always Google.
well, okay. Google, stay in your sandbox.
I'm not insinuating anything by making these statements, but there is a pattern going on here, if you've noticed.
Of course, I have.
Yes.
And I don't fully understand their end game yet. Or maybe it just hasn't been clear.
It's vertical integration.
Well, I know that, but
Yeah.
are they going to
Control.
eat, are they going to eat all of our control?
Vertical integration and control.
And think about that, ladies and gentlemen. Are you on a platform that's been acquired? So are you on a vertical platform that is locked in, and your podcast host has been sucked up into the matrix? What does that mean for your show long term if you're not on your own.com?
I just hope it doesn't lead to certain shows saying, like I say, certain shows that are hosted by competitors' platform being banned from being included on other platforms. You know what I'm saying? Other listening platforms.
So Rob,
where this could be going.
So Rob, what kind of money would it take for us to go exclusive?
Todd, you always bring it back to the almighty dollar.
It's what this is.
I have no idea, Todd.
So if they told us, let's say Spotify came to us, said, Rob and Todd, we'll give you $2,500 a month if you keep doing 4 shows a month.
Well, Todd, I don't think it would be smart for us to do a deal like that. Number one, because of our position in the medium.
Okay, so Rob, what if they come back to us and said, Rob and Todd, $5,000 a month if you become a Spotify exclusive?
I don't think that I would want to do a deal like that, Todd, with this show.
Well, what if the show remains hosted where it's at and we're just on?
You're pushing me on this one. I might do a deal like that if I had my own show.
Oh, okay. It's interesting.
But given our position with this show, I'm not sure that that's in our best interest.
So the next question then is, okay, so we're not going to sell out then or cash in. So the next question is, for the average podcaster, let's say they've got 10,000 listeners.
We already piss off enough people, Todd.
Okay, so let's say you've got a show that's got 10,000 listeners in it, or 10,000 downloads per episode. Right. What if they came to that show and said, "We'll give you $1,000 a month to be over here to be exclusive on our platform"? Do you think that podcaster would make that jump at 10,000 listeners, 10,000 downloads? What's going to be the going?
It's possible.
What's going to be the going?
It also depends on how viable that show is as an advertising opportunity. But at 10,000 downloads, it's not a huge revenue opportunity.
So, but what's going to be the going rate for shows? Because this is what's starting to happen now. A lot of shows are getting locked up. Locked up meaning they've done exclusive deals. And they went after the big ones so far.
And if it happens too broadly, it's going to challenge us on whether or not they're podcasts, right?
Right, but I'm kind of the opinion, and this is maybe going to sound...
Or does it matter because the audiences don't matter?
Well, I'm going to say this gives an opinion, it gives me the... I don't think there's going to be a lot of these exclusive deals done. If there's a lot done, that gives huge opportunity for those of us that remain in the public accessible space and are not locked up under some platform, because
I think you have much more audience opportunity.
Well, because that show's gone from, it's locked into a certain platform,
right?
And a certain percentage of those folks are not going to move. So there's So again, there's an opportunity to grow a show potentially, maybe not.
Well, then of course, then there's Apple too, Todd. We didn't mention Apple as an important player on this, that they haven't jumped into acquisition too much.
For how long?
Right? I don't know. That's an intriguing question. Apple is I say Apple is a competitor of Spotify and
Amazon Music.
And Amazon Music, sure.
Apple Music. Matter of fact, that's what I listen to primarily is Apple Music. From my mobile device. And then from my computer, I listen primarily I listen to Pandora for music. I don't know why, but.
So what podcast hosting platform would be the best fit for Apple?
Apple's not going to buy a podcast hosting platform.
Why not?
They won't do it. If they did, Blueberry would be the best fit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Why not?
Yeah.
I think it'd be the best fit.
Right.
You like how I dropped that in there?
They're all about WordPress. I know that. Yeah.
Hey, we serve everyone. We don't.
I know you do.
We just don't serve WordPress users. So, but hey, Apple, let's talk.
Come on over. I'm right here.
Come on over. And you guys got lots of zeros in the bank account. You can make us all very happy.
Yes. That's right. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know who's a good fit for Apple. I thought they were going to buy Anchor. Because it looked to me like they were in bed with Anchor. I bet you they wish they would have bought Anchor. There's someone over at Apple that's probably like, why didn't we buy that?
They will never let us know that, Todd.
Of course not. Sure. Never. We will never hear that, ever.
Right.
Yeah, we're speculating here and having a little fun with it, but, So the question is Spotify done? Are they going to buy some more?
Todd, I thought it was interesting, this session that's coming up at Podcast Movement tonight.
Oh, really?
I think it was tonight. It was a session that had a bunch of guys talking about attribution. And it was, here, let me see if I can find it here. Swap card. I can find it really quick. But it's basically a session that is all about debunking all of the bad rumors and discussion about attribution.
Oh, let me guess who's on that panel. Okay, I'm going to put two fingers up and go ahead and do we know the people and the companies associated with those that are on there?
Okay, here, I've got it. There, I'm going to the page right now. So here is the title of it. Barstool or NPR, the podcast attribution game show. That's on tonight at 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern. So it says the description of this 2-hour session on Podcast Movement is, are you tired of people telling you what to think? Endless pitches touting the benefits of dynamic ads, embedded ads, targeting, and creative testing. Why not sit back, relax, and let us challenge every deeply held belief you have to the core?
All right. Who's on the panel?
All right. It is Sarah Timms, who's the Associate Director of Podcast Advertising and Operations at National Public Radio. Mm-hmm. And Sean Creeley, who's the founder of Podsites.
Okay. Whoops. I'll put one finger down. Okay. Who else? Anybody else?
That's it.
Oh,
that's their 2-hour session hosts.
So not surprised Podsites on that panel. Twit has announced to test pod sites for attribution data.
Oh, I guess there is another person, but they're not listed as a panelist. It is Casey Murphy, who's the director performance marketing at Barstool Sports.
So I don't understand. Are they going to talk about the benefits of attribution, or it's, because pod sites is all about attribution?
Right. It
So
says,
is this going to be a bash of Libsyn and Blueberry tonight?
I don't know, Barstool or NPR pits audience versus panel. We present an attribution case, and you, the viewer, must decide, was the result from Barstool Sports or NPR?
Oh. Like I said, meanwhile, Twit has announced they're to test pod sites for attribution data.
Anyway, it's just, there were sessions about, attribution and targeting and stuff like that. Actually, yesterday, I think they had a good session on there about that topic too. And I tuned in for it. It was a good discussion about it. And the topic of privacy did come up. It isn't like they ignored it. So
you saw California has something new on the ballot. It's I think it's called Prop 24. And let's see if I can remember the what makes it different, how it adds to the CCPA. It basically companies will not be allowed to basically do attribution, resell. Let's see if I can find I've got it in I covered it on Geek News Central. And it's specifically, again, this is for a California only initiative. Let's see if I can find it. I got to go to the full article. Let's see here, Prop 24. Privacy, there it is, privacy. So, this California ballot proposition could have a ripple effect across the United States. So, under Prop 24, consumers could ask companies not to share their data, in addition to not selling it. Proponents say adding the word share would let consumers tell a business to stop showing them targeted ads, the attention of the 2018 law. Tech companies argue that ad targeting isn't a sale of your data, even though they make money from the transaction. So basically, if Prop 24, and I think California, if I was living in California, I would vote for this. I would so again, under Prop 24, consumers could ask companies not, it's not automatic, they'd have to ask companies not to share their data in addition to not selling it.
Right.
Now, here's the problem. A company is a broad word. So my company, Raw Voice, which we do business under and how I get my paycheck from Raw Voice Incorporated, has another company called Blueberry Podcasting. We have another brand called Podcast Mirror. We have another brand called Castfeed Validator. We have another brand called SubscribeOnAndroid.com. We've got another brand called SubscribeByEmail.com. So technically, they could ask Raw Voice to not share their data with another company, but yet, because I have holdings, it's really my company. So that data could be, so how do you think Johnson & Johnson, how many brands do they have?
A
lot. So Johnson & Johnson is one company, but they've got all these brands, so they still can do retargeting. With this, it would be internal to the company. You wouldn't be able to sell that attribution or share that attribution data with another retargeter. So it doesn't stop Amazon from showing you searches you did on Amazon 2 weeks ago.
On this same topic, Twit TV, Leo Laporte, they announced a test of PodSite's attribution service as part of his network. It says in an announcement on their website, As the podcast industry evolves, we at Twit continue to look for ways to balance a need for podcast attribution and listener privacy, something we take very seriously. Attribution services are part of an increasingly non-negotiable part of an ad-supported network. In other words, we want to continue to deliver our great podcasts at no cost to you while satisfying advertising needs.
So they're being forced to do attribution.
Right. Is what it looks like. They're going to be testing the attribution service from Podsites as we set our eyes on a 2021 transition away from Chartable.
So they've been doing attribution already then.
Through Chartable.
Right.
So there's something about what Podsites is doing that has their interest. Now, they do post in the same article, says, the service will not interfere with your listening experience. We will not track any personally identifiable listener information. You can read Podsites' privacy policy here. There's a link at Twit's longstanding privacy policy here. And one last little point here. It says, if you are running an ad blocker, you may need to make sure that pdst.fm is not blocked. What do you think about that?
It's their choice, their network. They have to pay the bills.
Yep.
So their listeners are going to be tracked.
So it looks like the advertisers are really, dropping the hammer on this.
Mm-hmm. For just a little bit more information. So here's this. I guess we got to go through this again. So certain types of attribution is pretty good. It's not something that is really going to affect privacy of a listener. So if I put a cookie or
cookies are going away, right?
Yeah, so let's say I put something, basically, anytime you hit my...
It's a pixel or something.
Or in what way they're actually doing it is, and this is what's going to be very curious, is it's usually from IP data from the download.
Right.
So they take the raw IP data from the download.
That is personally identifiable information, at least it's classified as.
And then,
right.
I'm just explaining how this is going to work. Then they're going to look for your IP over on the advertiser's website. And if you go over there, you've been attributed to being interested in a product.
Right,
but
or a transaction.
Where it could go further is they could look at your IP of your download. They could look at, did you visit the Twit website? Did you hit the Twit RSS feed? All three of those could be used back on the site to do a compare. Now, in the United States, it's not illegal to do that. In the UK and GDPR, that's a whole different ballgame. So now they've got maybe three pieces of information. They've got, you went to the Twit website. And again, this is an example. Let's not use Twit. You go to a podcaster's website, you load their feed, you download their episode, all from the same computer or two or three or maybe one device, whatever it may be. And you go over there and you let's say you buy the product. Well, if that's a company with lots of brands, they can now say this IP is interested in our stuff. And they can use that in retargeting campaigns so that when you're out, and I'm not saying this is happening, if they're doing attribution studies only in reporting and no reselling of the data, it's still probably okay, right? Because the only thing the advertiser is getting is verification that you have performed. But what
it can go the other way too, right? It can come from like Amazon,
right? So, depends.
Into the podcast,
that could be true
potentially.
Too. Yeah. So what happens now if the arbiter of that data doesn't share that? In other words, let's say it's Podsites and they don't resell that. They just use that to give the attribution report. I don't have a problem with that at all. That type of attribution where it's 100% contained. It's what's, let's say feed, site, download. that's crossed back down to the advertiser site. And long as the advertiser isn't the one taking the three pieces of data and do the matching, and there's a middleman, which would be pod sites, and giving them a report, as long as that data is not resold, I'm good. But how long before the advertiser, well, we got the attribution data now, we want that, we want the attribution, no, we got the attribution report, now we want the attribution data. You will give us the attribution data or you will not get any more advertising dollars, because we want to take that data and we want to retarget that person
to that user on other platforms.
That user on other platforms. So that's...
It can go both ways. It can go from other platforms to podcasting, can go from podcasting to other platforms.
So that's where it goes for me, is where it goes too far. Now, if PodSites is saying we're not allowing the resale of this activity and we are not explicitly using this in retargeting campaigns, or we're not comparing this across multiple shows, so I have a separation of church and state, so that, let's say the new media show was involved, I wouldn't want them taking the new media show data and looking at Geek News Central. You know, so are they, is that contained, or is it all open? And this is all on IP data. So, and well, whatever tech they're using. But how, you know, the allure is that, and as I was told by someone that does mostly brand buys, not DR, not direct response, brand buys. He says, you want to unlock the money. He says, you're going to have to do attribution plus retargeting. That's how they make their money. And I'm like, he says, and it's very lucrative for the person that's, you know, it's very lucrative for the content creator because he's getting more cash.
Right. Todd, I'm on the PodSites privacy policy page, and one quick statement that it makes in here. I just want to get your reaction to it. It says, we also collect information such as IP address and user agent when you download a podcast episode that uses the site. We refer to this information as download information. This download information is not personal data.
Okay.
I don't know if that's, I think IP, anything relating to an IP address, any activity is considered to be personally identifiable.
Well, let's ask the internet. Is an IP address, going to the book of knowledge, of course, the Google, is an IP address personal
and user agent
identifiable? We're just going to ask them first. Personal identifiable information. So, the CCPA defines personal information include online identity, such as an IP address, but only if the identifier identifies, relates to, describes, is reasonably capable of being associated with, or could reasonably be linked directly or indirectly with a particular consumer or household.
So it's taking that IP data and matching it with a database.
For many businesses, a collection of IP addresses provides multiple benefits from monitoring website traffic to advertising, tracking, and deterring malicious activity, but IP addresses are reasonably capable of being associated with or linked to an individual or household. Let me back up.
So I guess if you think about it, you know, both of our platforms collect IP addresses and user agents, right?
Yep.
So, but I think we both look at that as personally identifiable information that we don't want to share.
So from the European Union, the ruling states, and this was from a lawsuit, in order for personal identifiable information to be personally identifiable, it must identify a person, but an IP address identifies as a computer. The European Union's directive on personal data has a broader scope, defining PII as data which can identify individual directly or indirectly. Now, let's go a step further.
Right.
Hey, Rob, I have a great offer. I'm offering the brand new, most crazy phone you've ever seen. This thing will give you a shower. Okay? Stupid, right? You go over
and
to the
brush your teeth.
You brush my teeth, wipe my butt, the whole 9 yards. This is a multi-purpose cell phone, right? So, Rob hears it on the podcast. You go over to the vendor site. Oh my God, look at what Todd has recommended. Let me go ahead and purchase this. Put my name, my address. Oh, I'm agreeing to a privacy policy. Boom. Guess what you've done? You cross the streams. Now, if Podsites is hanging onto that.
Well, you didn't even know you did it. That's
right. Well, if Podsites is hanging onto that IP data and not giving that IP data to the vendor, we're still cool, right? Podsites does the attribution, says, yep, we had a sale. Fantastic from this. This is a great campaign. Todd, you recommended 82 people to go buy this cell phone. So we had a successful campaign. They spend more money with me.
Right.
That's no problem. I have no issue with that type of attribution at this point in the United States.
Right. I mean, I think if it's done just for that purpose alone, I think it's fairly harmless, right?
I think there has to be I think companies are going to have to make a stand at some point and be very, I call it, okay, this is a marketing term that we're exploiting. In private internal podcasting, a lot of the companies that are offering this service do implied security.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it'll do this and this without any detail. And then we find out later, well, that file was just downloaded to you. That thing can be shared. You thought you had security. You really didn't. So there's explicit. So implicit and explicit. I will explicitly tell a client, this is what this will and will not do, and here are your risks based upon the security level you're at. Some of the companies have said the security risk is so great, the audio is no longer being delivered as a podcast. It's being delivered as a stream. That's the highest level of security in private internal podcasting. It actually no longer is truly a podcast. The first three levels they are, but fourth level it's just it's streamed audio. So banks, hospitals, those types of folks are worried about this, about really truly SEC information. It's just like you guys, Rob. You can't talk about projected earnings or how many new customers you get fired, and the company would get an SEC violation, and so there's certain things that you can talk about internally, but by God, you will never share it outside the company until it comes out on an official earnings report or you're in trouble with the SEC. So it's the same thing. So now, as far as this privacy stuff goes, I think at some point companies are going to have to explicitly say, we do not sell this IP data. We do not share this IP data with the vendor. We do not allow this IP data to be used for retargeting. I think companies are going to have to explicitly say what they are doing with this data. And
I'm looking at Podsight's website right now, and I don't see any specific statement like that. One thing I do see is it says in the Your Rights section, it says, additionally, please note that your information, now they're referring to the public, right? Your information will be, let me emphasize this, will be transferred outside of Europe, including to the United States.
They can't ask that. You can't.
This is a statement that they're making.
Okay, you can't. Okay, good luck good luck. My God. Good luck in GDPR on that. Are they saying they're measuring people in Europe?
It says, additionally, please note that your information will be transferred outside of Europe. So what they're saying is they're not going to transfer information to Europe because of GDPR, right? And it looks like that
I'm not a
they're also
lawyer.
including the United States.
You know how much hate mail I'm going to get over this episode?
I know. I mean, it's just getting really, really clear with what's going on here, and helping people understand what's going on. It's, if things are going on here that are not above board, then nobody wins from that.
And please, everyone understand. I'm not saying at all that people aren't being above board. I'm not saying
right.
that.
I'm not either. And also, I'm just reading what's on this website, and I may be completely misunderstanding what's going on.
So I'm not even going to try to interpret that line, but I would just say this: at some point, and I'm not saying Blueberry will never do attribution, but if we do attribution, there will be absolute explicit discussions, explicit policies, explicit paragraphs of information put on our website what we will and will not do with content or with data.
Right.
I'll explicitly explain that.
Well, and this is a little bit of a confusing sentence here too, and how it's written. So it's not 100% clear, but it does give the impression that your information will be shared with others outside of Europe. Right.
Who is the others?
They don't say who the others are. It just says that your information will be transferred outside of Europe, which means everybody else except for Europe is what that reads to me.
And again, I'm not a lawyer. I'd have to go back and ask Barry, but my understanding is that when we have this is what happens. When we have there's some reasonable provisions.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm not a lawyer. I might be stepping out of my swim lane here, but I know what we do. Mm-hmm. If we have a European IP, right? Well, we've done this globally for everybody. So we do this. We treat our U.S. customers the same way. So what happens is globally for Blueberry is when someone downloads a podcast and it's in our log file,
mm-hmm.
that log file sits on a secure data point, gets transferred into our measurement platform.
Mm-hmm.
It gets processed, and at the end of that process, that file the IP data gets anonymized.
Right.
And it's stored in a repository, anonymized.
Mm-hmm. That's what we all should be doing, right?
And if someone comes in, because I have a reasonable utilization and this is part of the stuff we actually went through the IB certification, how that happens,
mm-hmm.
custody of that media file, where it gets put, how it's logged, all that stuff. I got a logging of the logging going on. Yep. Logging of the logging, that the file got anonymized. And I don't know if we have a secret decoder ring internally, if we can unencode that or not, that anonymization. I don't know if we do.
Mm-hmm.
But it's stored anonymized.
Well, this area in their privacy policy here specifically is referring to Europe, right? So it says your rights. It says if you are a European resident, you have the right to access personal information we hold about you. So they're saying, and I think this is part of the GDPR stuff,
right,
to ask that your personal information be corrected, updated, or deleted. If you would like to exercise this right, please contact us through contact information below. So what they're saying is that they may be capturing this information, but they're obviously giving the European resident access to delete it or remove it, right?
But you have to ask permission to collect it in the first place. That's the problem.
I mean, that's true.
My
and then
understanding
additionally says, if you are a European resident, we note that we are processing your information in order to fulfill contracts we might have with you For example, if you make an order through the site, or otherwise to pursue a legitimate business interests listed above.
Well, I wouldn't have had to pay for the lawyer bill to have that terms of service written. Wouldn't it be a lot easier just to say, we don't process any EU IPs? That data is stripped.
Well, it says that they actually are. That's what I'm reading.
After processing, but our understanding is you can't even collect data. That's why we went global with GDPR. That's why you can't. Again, you have a reasonable use case, so maybe that's what they're using. I don't know.
Right. I'm not sure. And it does talk about data retention. It says that download information is kept indefinitely and is not considered to be personal data, is what they're saying.
Well, that's the definition they've came up with IP data.
Right.
So I don't know if that would fly with my team.
Right. Well, I think in order to be in this business, you kind of have to push the envelope on this stuff, right?
No, you can be in this business and do the right thing.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I agree with that, clearly. Yeah. So anyway, that was directly from the pod site's privacy policy. I pretty much read the clause that was in question. I mean, it talks about a bunch of other stuff too, but I don't think we have time to dig into everything.
No, but I guess I don't know. Again, does anybody care? Do podcasters even care?
To be quite frank about it, I don't even know that very many podcasters even understand what it's all about and what's going on.
Do they even care? Or is it just us here crying for or being old curmudgeons?
Maybe I don't know if they should. Do they have to care? I guess if people are out there like us that care for them, maybe maybe that's a good thing.
And so you choose who you do business with, and you determine if you agree with their policies, and you move forward as you see fit from that. And if there's you are the one that, as the podcaster who's publishing content, participating in those types of deals that require attribution, you, the podcaster, the originator of this, is the one that is at risk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm glancing at the Twit's privacy policy at this point, just to see how those two compare. It's fairly different in how it looks at stuff. I haven't had time to look at all of it, but they also don't think that it's personally identifiable information. It says personal data. Personal data means data about a living individual who can be identified from those data or from those and other information either in our possession or likely to come into our possession.
PII, according to the European Union, is data which can identify an individual directly or indirectly. So, of course,
can be whether or not Twit can do it themselves isn't the question.
Now listen. All right. I've been in New York City in this big fat office with lots of people in expensive suits, where they showed me, say, hey, what's the IP of your phone? Told them. They went over to their little machine, did a little question and answer in their little form, and guess who they came up with? Me. So that was the demo. And that demo was designed to make me go, wow, I need this to execute more targeted advertising campaigns.
Right. They had your name.
My name. My profile.
Associated with that IP related to a phone that you own.
And I was in New York, visiting New York with my phone, which would normally had been in Hawaii at the time on a different IP. So don't tell me that an IP cannot be by itself. No, 12168. No, that's not a proper.
Yeah,
Two
the
five
actual number
two
itself doesn't say Todd Cochran
no
on it.
255
So you have to be able to map it with some other data. Is what we're talking about here.
Those of you that are sitting in front of your computer, just do this little cool thing in Google. What is my IP? That's all you got to say. And it gives you an answer. My IP is, and I don't even want to read it, 97.84, and I'll leave it at that. And who owns that? Well, that's owned by my ISP, of course. But that IP, unless I'm using a VPN or doing a number of different things, when I go to websites, that is registered. So maybe I'm just talking to myself at this point. Maybe we're not talking to anybody, Rob. Does anybody give a crap? Please, do you? If you are, okay, I'm going to set a criteria here. If you've been podcasting since 2015 and forward, if you started anywhere between 2004 and 2014, you cannot reply to this question. If you've been doing a podcast from 2015 forward, do you care about privacy of your listeners? Yes or no? That's what I want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Send us an email, Todd at blueberry.com, Rob G at Libsyn.com. Let us know.
Yeah.
If you don't care, we need a straw poll, but we can't go to the old timers because the old timers are like us. The old timers are, no, I don't want I know who my audience already is because they email me and they talk to me. We know who some of the listeners of this show is just because they've emailed us and talked to us. But the high majority of people that listen to this show never, ever contact us. But you can be assured, as long as I'm breathing, they're not going to know who you are. Because it's not just marketing. It's what happens. And Rob from Libsyn, Rob Walsh from Libsyn has made the point very, very clear, and it's kind of dramatic. So what happens if you have a teenager in your home? Let's say he's 13. She's 13. Gay, but in the closet. And they listen to some program that is LGBTQ plus friendly. And then all of a sudden, in the mail comes something that is outing you. So, for someone that's still in the closet, maybe this would be devastating. Maybe this is life-changing. Maybe this is life-altering. Maybe they have a family that is super right and will throw them out. Who knows? All kinds of things that can happen from the ability of people to able to determine what we're listening to. That's, and that's, I'm sorry if I offended anyone with that example, but this is who we're trying to protect. We're trying to protect. I go back to the story, Rob, of when I was getting ready to have we had been out of my wife and I had been out of the baby business for like 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
She thinks she's pregnant. She goes to the store, buys a pregnancy test kit with cash.
Mm-hmm.
Comes home. Yep, we're pregnant. A couple of days later, she goes to her pediatrician or the doctor. Not a pediatrician. Goes to the doctor. Yep, They do a test. You're pregnant. We get all the neonatal vitamins, all the stuff. We're happy. We've told nobody. That information is between the check-in staff and the lab tech and And 7 days later, I get a parenting magazine in the mail that said, "Congratulations, Cochran family, on your pregnancy."
Yep.
And we didn't use a credit card. We used cash to buy the... Who sold that data?
The hospital.
Right. So now, and how much did they get for that? $12, finder's fee, whatever it is. I didn't subscribe to Parenting Magazine, but they sent me a magazine. They knew we were pregnant. That's nobody's business. And we're in such an invasive world right now. What you listen to, what you consume, what you do behind your closed door, and what you do on your phone is nobody's business. Unless you've opted in.
Yeah.
I've said yes on Amazon. I've said yes on YouTube already. So...
Yeah, Todd, I think it is true. I mean, your question, does anybody care? I think I think people care, but I'm not sure they care enough, if you know what I'm saying. I think people care at the concept that they don't want their privacy violated, but I think that there's so much benefit that they feel like they get potentially from it, from these platforms that, and it's probably going on without your knowledge anyway. So your life seems to be continuing without interruption. So why make a big stir about it, right?
So it's just like, well, I'll say this. Shh, everyone. Every once in a while, I like to have a cigar. Like once a month, maybe. Like to have a...
But Todd, you know where this is all going once the transcriptions get taken from all of our episodes, right?
That's true. I'm already screwed. So
that's right.
Anyway.
Then they're going to know that you just said that. And then you're going to get targeted with an ad.
I'll lose my life insurance. Oh, absolutely.
Hey, Todd, I just signed up for new insurance from Liberty Mutual. I don't know if you've done this or not. They have what's called a program called Pay by Mile.
Rob, please tell me you didn't opt in for that.
Well, I haven't actually installed it in my car yet, but I thought it was an interesting thing. I mean, it's a good way to save a bunch of money on your car insurance.
So Rob, stop. You cannot, if you turn on this app, you can no longer complain about privacy.
Well, I'm just saying, this is the world that we live in now, right?
Right.
There's money to be saved. There's values that can be derived. There's you can be reminded that you purchased something on Amazon for a week after you've done it.
So as far as the cigars go, I don't inhale. I just taste them.
Right. Yeah.
But
Todd, if you're not doing anything wrong, what do you have to worry about?
It's nobody's business.
I'm going to drive a little slower now. I'm going to make sure that my turns are very gradual. I'm not going to accelerate very quickly anymore because Big Brother's going to know when I do that.
USAA, I have great insurance. I'll never put a tracker in my car. I have a Ford Edge Sport, and there's this little button that's got an S on it, and it means super fast.
It'd be like Tesla has, like, what's it called? Was it the crazy mode or something
whatever
like
it is,
that?
the insanity mode or whatever it is.
Insanity mode, right? Yeah.
So in my Ford, I got to, you definitely feel the kick. It really, there's a whole performance difference when you press the S button. It actually should come with a...
Waiting for the nitrous oxide. That's what I'm waiting for.
It should come with...
all these cars to get.
It should come with a caution. The S mode will have you more prone to getting a speeding ticket. So,
But you can't if you've got one of these trackers in your car, because they're going to instantly know, and your premiums will go up the next week.
That's why I will pay my premium with USAA and will never put a tracker in my car. Rob, I can understand why you could have a tracker. My brother-in-law could have a tracker. Oh my God. I ride with him. I'm like, please pull over to the side.
Drive like Grandpa.
Get out of the driver's seat. You come. We're going to switch positions because I don't want to be a week getting to the location we're going to. Oh my God.
Well, and you also have to be careful who drives your car because you could be implicated in that, right?
That's true. That's true. I don't let anybody drive my car anyway. Yeah, Tim says the S button is attached.
That was my cousin that drove 100 miles an hour on the freeway. That wasn't me.
Yeah. Timothy says the S button is attached to the gas gauge. I agree. When I'm out of S, I get about 21. When I go to S, it's about 15.
Right.
So anyway, we've covered this topic a dozen times on this show. If we don't really get any reaction, we've got a few people in the chat room that have reacted. Gail says, I say no. Things should stay the way they are. So,
what should we be talking about on this show? What do you really care about?
A Chartable, Podsites, you guys listen? We'd love to have you on. We'll be nice. We just want to ask questions. Come on the show. I'd love to have you on. We'd love just to have a conversation. I'd love to have them on. I'd love to have them on. Just have a conversation.
I mean, I'm game to ask.
We're not, I'm not going to ask softball questions, and we may agree to disagree on some stuff, but it's okay.
Right.
And again, I am on the record. I am not against attribution if it's done correctly. And I'm
Who's the best one to ask about this, you think, Todd?
I have some ideas. So, or anyone else is doing attribution now. There's more than, there's more companies.
Sean Creeley from the founder of Podsites.
Sean would be good.
Yeah.
They have, I don't know if she's the CEO or I'm trying to think of her name. But anyway, it wouldn't mind, have them on. I'd love to have a conversation. I think it'd be good.
Mm-hmm.
And we can talk this through and either
it'd be good to get really, really crisp on this topic.
Yeah.
Because I don't profess to be an expert
on
attribution. Right.
And maybe this is something that's common. They say, no. We never share IP data with a vendor. If that's the case, then fantastic. Right. I can get behind that. No problem.
And that, there's a reasonable chance that's what's going on.
Yeah.
A lot of this stuff. Yeah. And we may be blowing it up worse than it really is. So.
And again, I have nothing against either of those companies. I think they got great people on both. So.
Right. So, I think we both want to be fair about it. It's not that we want to throw people under the bus and then, do that. That's not right for us to do.
No, never.
Right.
And, but, and I like the folks over at Twit. So I know Leo's pretty, he's old school. He's pretty much big on making sure that, so I have no doubt that they've done their due diligence.
Right.
So,
but at the end of the day, they are businesses and they're trying to optimize what they do to fit with the market and what the market is expecting of them. And a big part of their business is advertisers. So,
and if the advertisers are demanding this now as part of the campaign, my problem is
maybe we need to have an advertiser on here.
Well, my problem is why did we let the advertisers demand that to begin with for this minuscule amount of information that they're getting?
That and the minuscule benefit they're getting.
Because I can almost guarantee if I hear an ad about something on my phone, where do I go? I go to my desktop then and afterwards and I go look it up.
Yeah.
I know not everyone does that. I know many of you just live on your phone only.
Right.
So I'm an old curmudgeon that still uses a desktop browser.
I do too. I've got two of them right in front of me. Giant screens. Yeah.
But
bigger the better, as my saying goes.
Yeah.
I've got a 32-inch here. I'd be easily go to 40 or 46. I'd be happy.
Wow. So we got a number of you on Facebook that have maybe are not checked in. If you haven't checked in, please do so. We're going to get out of here because we're already over time.
We are.
And we already give you an hour and a half twice a week. So I think that's enough.
I think so, Todd. Nobody wants to listen to us that much.
I'm kind of surprised how many people do. So, Everyone, thanks for being here. And again, anyone that's listening to the show that is a competitor, you work in the space, you can go and ask lots of folks that have been guests on here or watch the interviews with guests. We are more than fair and nice. We're not mean.
Nope,
not at all. And
it's better to actually come on.
Yeah,
that'll diffuse anything that we may be misunderstanding that's getting us in trouble with you.
That's right, and making you angry. So
right.
We want to hear your side of it and tell us how the hell we were wrong.
Right.
Or had the wrong opinion or thinking about it the wrong way.
Right, or maybe we don't have all the details.
Yeah, come on in and change my mind.
That's right.
So, because, old dogs can learn new tricks. I'm Todd at blueberry.com. At Geek News is my Twitter address. Rob?
I am at Lipson on Rob G at Lipson.com. And I'm also on Twitter at Rob Greenlee. And that's 4 E's in that, no Y's.
And if you think we did a good job, we do have a little bit of a donation link on the website. We do appreciate when you come in and give us a few pennies here, a dime, dime and nickel, a penny. It's all good. Every dime.
If only I had a little hat I could hold up right now.
Yeah, and that all goes towards the streaming bill. So everything we get for the show goes against the streaming bill, which we do incur some cash on. And the hosting doesn't cost me anything because it's at Blueberry, but just the streaming bill I have to pay for. Okay. Everyone, thanks for being here. Thanks for taking the time to listen to us. We'll see you next time on the New Media Show, Saturday, 12 noon.
Yep. Thank you.